recording.
Tazria Mitzora in Turbin, hab ich Fetten, fleckt ein Bettler Barim in sich anderen. At the Parsha of Tazria Mitzora in the town of Turbin, boy, did I have a fat affair.
Can I stop you a minute?
Sure.
The way I read it, and I may be absolutely wrong, I read it in Torben, like in my bag, I have a
It's
fat.
not Torbe. No, it's not Torbe, it's Turbin. It's a town.
Mein Tata ist geboren geworden in Turbin. Ist der Städtel.
So hat er gehabt Fetten?
Okay. Thank you. Hi, Yankov.
So Yankov will be both. Good. So my one Bettler used to pride himself in front of others. Me git mir dort Fisch und Fleisch und Petscha und Sibbolus mit Schmalz and a feel them a lava malke git men mir. They were giving me their fish and meat and Petscha, which is jellied calves' feet, and onions and schmaltz, poultry fat, and even at the feast at the end of the Shabbos, Malava Malka, they were giving to me. Borscht mit Kartoffeln. Ich will dir mein Tazir mit Zora für kein 2 Gulden nicht weggeben. And borscht with potatoes. I wouldn't give away my Tazria Mitzora for any 2 golden coins. Mein Bechukosai in Ishbitze soll a fire nehmen. When I was in Ishbitze at the Parsha of Bechukosai, it should only be burned. Like that Sveter Bettler sich kluggen. A second beggar would complain. Chala gitmen blois to der moitzi. They would only give you challah at the time of making motzi. Danach muss man essen Brot. And after that, it would just be plain bread. Kein shalashudas, gitmen and ganzen nicht. There would never be a third meal for the Shabbos. A brachse in the gederim. A curse in their innards. Der Seidach hat nicht gekannt Herren, die wisste Red und Klolas beim Shabbos-dicken Tisch. Aber nicht wallendig verschämen die Bettlers, hat sie gegeben unsere herrenischen, sie sollen referren. Grandfather couldn't listen to this empty speech and these curses at the Shabbos table. But he didn't want to embarrass his guests, the beggars. So he gave them to understand somehow that they should stop. Erst jeden erst, hat sie gemuntert. Also, sie sollen sich anstoßen, sie dürfen bloß essen und nicht reden. Eat, folks, eat, he encouraged them, so that they should understand, they should catch the idea that they should be only eating and not talking. Aber die Bettlers haben sich nicht wissendig gemacht und getan beide Sachen mit einmal, geteilt und gerät. The beggars pretended they didn't understand, and they would do both things at the same time. They would chew and they would speak. Die Baba hat jedes Mal, wo sie hat reingetragen neue Macholem, gehabt der Blick auf dem Silber auf dem Tisch, nicht sicher sein dick. Zu die Heisergeher will nicht etwas herablassen in Keschner rein. Grandmother, every time when she would bring in new food from the kitchen, she would glance at the silver on the table, and not being completely certain whether these folks who would go from house to house, whether they would perhaps let some of it down into their pockets. Ich hab angequollen von die bettlerische Meises und Geschichten und die Mischarem, was sie haben geführt Shabbos. I would rejoice listening to the beggars' stories and their histories and the merchandise that gefeert Shabbos, that they managed to acquire, I guess, on Shabbos.
No, the business they were handling.
The business they were handling. Good.
Or the
Yeah.
trade.
Right. The trade. And their trade, of course, was begging. And so that's the kind of trade you can do even on Shabbos. In Heiligen Tag haben sie geführt an Austausch, gemischert, mit Zucker, was sie pflegen kriegen von karige Balabostes, anstatt Groschens. So,
Kriegen, sie wollen kriegen.
kriegen, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
On the holy day, they still carried on an exchange. They did business with sugar, which they would get from stingy women of the household, women running the house, instead of groschens, instead of giving them coins. So I guess sometimes they would get sugar instead of coins, so they would use that as an item of exchange. Verkauft sich Schmates, Aparalte, Choljoves, and Nachazelcha Antiken. They would purchase for themselves rags, or they would sell for themselves rags, or old boot tops, and such treasures. Der Seder hat sie gestraft. Jeden nur Shabbos. Grandfather would scold them. Hey, folks, realize it's Shabbos. Aber sie haben nicht gehört und angehalten sehr bettlerische Mischorim. But they didn't listen. They kept on with their mendicant business. Sie haben euch nicht gewollt antreuen dem Seiden die Pack mit Groschens, was sie haben getragen mit sich Shabbos. They also didn't want to trust grandfather with the packs, which are the packs of money, which they would carry around on Shabbos. Dem Seiden ist es gegangen in Leben, als die Kapzonim sollen geben, sie behalten ihre Gelder über Shabbos, kedei sie sollen nicht tragen mit sich kein Geld in Heiligen Tag. Grandfather, it was, it says gegangen in Leben. He was absolutely involved in the subject. He was insistent, that's the word, that these poor folk should give him to hang on to their money for over the Shabbos, so that they wouldn't carry any money with them on the holy day. Jeden, ich bin Baruch Hashem abatuach, fleckt der Sefer Zichron. Folks, I am, God be praised, someone you can trust, he would assure them. Die ganze Stadt halt bei mir Geld. Zierung, the whole city, the whole town is keeping its money and its jewelry at my place. Das ist kein Beremerei nicht gewesen. Now, this wasn't any just boasting. Die ganze Stadt hat eingelegt beim Seiden in Haus Scholosh Gelter bei den Teures, Zierung von Kalis, und das alles ist gelegen in einer großen, schweren Kuffert, I think. A geschmiedten mit Eisen, a gedeckten mit Fell, und a verschlossenem auf 7 Schlösser. The entire town would leave at Zeta's house in it. Sholosh Gelter. I'm not sure what that is. Some sort of money.
Probably the common donation at the rabbinical court, like
Yeah, it's for the rabbinic court. Yeah.
Not a donation.
Below.
It's settlement money. The money.
Settlement.
Okay.
But who do you pay to, the shalosh?
Well, he's like a trustee. They paid it
Right,
to
he's
him
holding
and
on to it
he-
until the court case is decided,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah.
But
And they would,
it's always a set amount.
I think it depends on the case.
Okay, thank you.
It sounds like it's a third party. That's why it's shalosh, not
that could be. That
the
could be
third
why it's
holding
shalosh.
it for the two parties that are fighting.
Makes
Hmm.
sense. And they would have him keep jewelry for brides. And it was all lying in a big, heavy chest, which was closed. It was made of iron, and it was covered with a pelt, and it was locked with 7 locks. Der Kufert is gestanden in Seidens Schlafstube. This chest was sitting in Grandpa's bedroom. Azoi as soll sein sicher gegen Agneva, in order to be protected against theft. Der Seidach hat maftiach gewen die Bettlers, als euch sei megen ihm ontreuen sehr torbelich mit Groschens und Brutes bis über Shabbos. Grandfather assured the beggars that they too could trust him and trust him with their sacks of groschen, of coins and small coins until after Shabbos. Aber die Bettlers haben nicht gewollt hören davon, but the beggars didn't want to hear of it. Okay. Rachel.
Okay. Can I say something? When you read, it is ich quäle so, I get so much pleasure, and I always wonder how come an American boy reads like this? You're American. Yankev reads, I understand. Yankev is South African. The dog is mehr Litwische Jiden, aber do. You know,
No, meine Eltern seien gewinn Litwakis.
ich weiß, es ist ein Vergnügen, ja. En Yankev ist ein Vergnügen euch. Und Susan ist auch ein Vergnügen. No, okay. But the Americana, because I don't find Americans that speak like that. They read like that, you know? Not many. Anyway, where did you stop?
First paragraph, wir haben gar nicht.
Okay. Wir haben gar nicht, Rebbe. Haben sie gesagt, finstere, verdächtigen, dicke. Wir sollen also leben, Rebbe. Oh, we have nothing, Rebbe. They were saying, they were like exhausted with a dark look. They're swearing we should leave. They're swearing on their lives that this is really so. We should leave for that to be true. No, nicht schweren, hat der See gebeten. Don't swear, the grandfather asked them. Jeden Tag nicht schweren. Erst in Jews are not allowed to swear. Eat, Jews. Die Jiden haben gefolgt, mehr wie Freitag zu Nacht. Die Jiden haben gefolgt. The Jews obeyed. Mehr wie Freitag zur Nacht haben sie gearbeitet meistens beim Tisch Shabbos in der Früh, wenn man noch der lang dem heißen Tikscha belegt mit Halle und zerschlagene Gelechlach von Eier, die Zwiebeln mit Schmalz, die Fisch, die Kasche mit Jorch, Kugel und Kischke und Zimes und allerlei andere Matamim. So, more so than on Saturday night,
Friday night.
they did a lot. These beggars did a lot by the Sabbath table in the morning when they were serving the hot pitcha along with challah and poached eggs and cibole, onion with fat, with chicken fat, I guess. The fish, kasha is cereal. I mean, kasha with soup. I don't get what kind of a dish this is. Maybe you know. But anyway.
Which one?
It's maybe a
the
barley soup.
kasha mit yorch. What is kasha mit yorch?
Well, it's buckwheat groats with chicken soup, chicken broth.
Can you say it again?
Buckwheat groats with
Okay,
chicken broth.
okay. Thank you. Okay. Kugel und Kischke und Zimes und allerlei andere Matami. Kugel is a Kugel is Kugel.
Right.
The option.
And Kischke and Zimes is a carrot dish and all kinds of other good, delicious foods. Die bettlerische Bärde haben geglanzt von Fett. The beards of the beggars was shining from fat, from the fat of the food. Die fromme Katz, was hat sich zugehört zum Seidensmeeres, hat allemal aufgeöffnet an Eug, a Wissen Bligiton auf die räuschige Kapzonim und wieder eingetuliert sich in ihr Gesäß Leben seidens Vorderstuhl. So, the religious cat that was listening to the singing of the grandfather, the grandfather's singing of really the Sabbath traditional songs, Smiras, she used to always open an eye, give an empty look, look at the noisy beggars, and again she wrapped herself in her sitting place next to Grandpa's armchair or chair or father's chair, whatever you want. Okay. Now, Frage der Fleck in der Mischpoche. Noch ein Menschen Fleck der Seide gleich gehen schlafen. After the blessing of the blessing on the after the meal, father used to go to sleep. Ich will sich weglosen zum Vetter Josef in Stub, wo man hat nicht gefühlt so stark die Strengheit von Schabbes wie in Seidens Haus. Und ich habe gekannt sich spielen mit der Chaliastre von meiner Schwesterkind Inglach und Mädlach, was einer ist gewesen, Reuter von anderen. So I used to get myself into Uncle Joseph's house, where you didn't feel that much the strictness of the Shabbos, the strictness of the keeping the Shabbos, like we in Zayden, so like in Grandpa's house. And I was able to play with the gang of my cousins, boys and girls, who they were, one was redder than the other. Was wir haben nicht gearbeitet in Heiligen Tag, und es dem Vetter Joseph nicht geart. Regardless of what we were doing on that holy day, the Shabbos, Uncle Joseph didn't care. Wir haben gemerkt, spielen in Nies, herumjoggen sich in behaltenes Spiel und dann allerlei andere nicht Shabbos-dicke Sachen. What didn't we do? Okay, this I addressed it already. We were allowed to play with nuts, to run around playing hide and seek, and to do other non-Shabbos things, to do things that are not appropriate for Shabbos. Also wie der Vetter hat nicht gekannt ton seine zwei beliebten Loches von Schreiben Cheshboines und Räuchern Papyroslach, hat nicht aufgehört trinken Shabbos-dicke Tee. Das ist also, since the uncle was not able to do his two favorite things, which were to write calculations and to smoke cigarettes. Because of that, he did not stop drinking the day of Shabbos. Was die Mumesoret Jitsche hat ihm gehalten in ein zu tragen, that aunt, this one, Soret Jitsche, kept bringing in to him. Dabei hat gerät, euch gefragt, sich auf alle Men und alles, wegen alles gedacht wissen. Which is during that time, he was speaking, asking about everybody and everything. He had to know about everything. Gerät hat gich, witzig, voll mit scharfe Spassen und Leizones. He was speaking fast, jokingly, with a lot of sharp jokes. And Leizones is another, humor. Die ewige Thema ist gewesen, seine älteste Tochter Fradl, was hat gehabt mit sein Erstweib. The main topic of his conversation was his eldest daughter Fradl, with whom he had with his first wife. Und die Tochter seine Amat heutige Brunetke, die einzige Schwarzhaarige zwischen alle ihre reuthäurige Schwester und Brüder, hat sich gewöhnlich aufgehalten in so Svihil, wo sie hat gelernt in der freien Gymnasie und sie hat lieb gehabt zu reden Russisch und gehen angetan wie ein Pritzele. So yeah, so now this daughter of his, who was a dark, who had dark skin, she was a brunette. The only one with dark hair among all her red-haired sisters and brothers, she was living in a place called Zvil, where she was studying in a high school for girls, and she loved to speak Russian and to walk around dressed like a noblewoman. Aber sie pflegt von Zeit zu Zeit kommen kein Bilgorei zum Vater. But from time to time she would come to Bilgorei to her father. Also wie sie ist gekommen, hat sie sich genommen kriegen mit dem Vater. As soon as she came, she started fighting with my father.
With her father.
No, I'm sorry, no, not with my father, with her father, of course, with her father. Okay, Yankev.
Okay. Ot die Fradel is gewinn der Fleck in der Mishpocha. So this woman, Fradel, was the blot of the family. Jeden Chassidim, Gegner von Seiden zu lieb sein Mishnagdes, haben geteinet, als Tage zu lieb dem Misnagdes seinem, hat sich erlebt zu haben an Enikala Goya, am Shemedes, a Bunitze, was redt Goyisch, trug der Hut auf den Kopf und lackierte Stiefelig auf die Füße. So Hasidic Jews who opposed the grandfather, the Zayda, because of his Mishnagdis, because he was of his opposition to Hasidism, they claimed that it was really because of his opposition, the Zayda's, his opposition to Hasidism, that he that he had that he
lived to see.
He lived to see a grandchild, a non-Jew, a Meshemedis, someone who had converted, a rascally busybody who spoke Goyish, who spoke Russian, who wore a hat on her head and lacquered boots on her feet. For mir is die fremdstottische Fradel gewinn a fantastische Erscheinung von a Fremder. So for me, this strange city woman Fradel was a fantastic manifestation of a Fremder, a strange an alien person, a strange person, a fremder zauberendike Welt of this alien enchanting world. Der größte Zauber ist gewinn in dem, was sie vielleicht oft herausgehen,
Herausnehmen.
herausnehmen, a Papyrus von Vaters Pudler mit ausgestopfte Papyrussen verräuchern. Okay, so let me stop here. The most enchanting thing about her was that she used to take out a cigarette from her father's carton of cigarettes, which was packed with cigarettes, and she would smoke it. Herauslosen dem Räuch durch den Mäul, durch den Noslöcher, und dabei kriegen sich heftig mit dem Futter. So she would breathe out the smoke either from her mouth or from her nostrils, and at the same time she would vigorously argue with her father. Als über Jerusha-Gelter, was seien geblieben, noch ihr verstorbene Mutter. Und der Vater, hat sie vertachlivet. So she would argue about the inheritance money, which remained from her deceased mother, and he, her father, had squandered it. Wegen dem, was sorgt nicht für ihr und wegen noch solche Sachen. And she would argue with him about the fact that he didn't look after her and all such kind of matters. Der Vetter pflegt ihr kein Musser für ihr Russisch und lackierte Stiefelig und andere goyische Sachen nicht sagen. The uncle didn't reprimand her about her speaking Russian or about her lacquered boots, little boots, and the other non-Jewish things that she did. He wouldn't say anything about it. Hat bichlal kein Musser nicht gesagt. He in general, he didn't reprimand anybody. Aber hat geteinet, als ihr sitzen dorten in die Scholes in Zvihil, ist kein Tachlis nicht. Und als sie soll bleiben in Bilgerei und ton a Schiddich mit a leitischen Bocher. But he used to claim that instead of sitting there in these non-Jewish schools in Zvihil, she should do something basic, positive, not doing anything basic or positive, that she should rather come and stay in Bilgerei and make a match with some respectable young man. Fradl hat sich voneinander gelacht mit a klingendig Gelächter, was solches hat man keinmal in frommen Bilgerei nicht gehört von einer jüdischen Tochter und verzeugen mit a Papyrussel. So Fradl would burst into laughter with a ringing kind of laughter, such as one would never hear from a religious woman in Bilgerai. It would never be heard from by a Jewish girl, and she would draw on a cigarette. Chassene haben mit an Itche Meyer und besetzen sich in Bilgerai to get married to some Itche Meyer and to settle in Bilgerai, hat sie gesagt. Mit Ekel, she said with disgust. Ich wollte besser springen von der Brick. I would rather jump off the bridge. Was denn willst du? Hat der Vetter sie gefragt. Unlosendig ihr a full ponim mit Räuch. So what do you want to do? The uncle asked her, blowing a full, blowing smoke right into her face. Studieren und werden a Zahndoktor, hat Fradl geantwortet. Unlosendig dem Vater a full pony mit Räuch. I would want to study to be a dentist, Fradl answered him, blowing smoke into her father's face. Das Wort Doktor hat euch mir angeworfen, als Meure und stolz gleichzeitig, als ich hab euch nicht gewagt zu atmen. This word, doctor, cast on me such a fear and pride at the same time that I could hardly breathe. I didn't dare to breathe. Ich hab bloß geguckt auf dem fremden, räuchendicken Mädel und nicht gekannt, sich zu glauben, als sie ist Taka meins a leiblich Schwesterkind. I would just simply look at her to look at this strange smoking young girl, and I couldn't believe that she was actually related by blood cousin. Okay.
My turn. In die Shabbosim pflegen Vater und Tochter sich kriegen heftiger wie a ganze Woche. On Shabbos, the father and daughter would fight more than they did during the week, weil sie haben beide nicht getort räuchern, while both of them couldn't smoke. Ich pfleg mit a neue upsitzen a ganze Shabbos noch Mittag in Vetters tummeldicke Stube. I used to sit with pleasure, spend a whole Shabbos afternoon in my uncle's busy home. Wo a viel des Kriegen sich hat nicht gehabt in sich kein Bitternis, where even the fighting wasn't done out of bitterness, nor Heimischkeit und Leichtkeit, but familiarity and lightness. Die Mumme Sora Chirje, the Hoiche Yidene, and the aunt Sora Chirje, the tall Jewess, was Tomid hat geschmeckt von ihrem von ihr mit Oven und Gebäcks. Okay, the tall Jewish who always smelled of oven and baking things, hat mir Kesede zugetrogen. Kichelach, she was always bringing me little sweet cakes, rogelach, und Kommesbräutlach, and little pieces of mandelbread. Zu Schalischudes pfleg ich zurückgehen zum Seiden. And then the third meal, Shabbos, I used to go back to grandfather. Die Baba pflegt sitzen in der größer Kirche. The grandmother used to sit in the big kitchen, was is gewein eingehielt in Shabbos zu nachtige Schottens, which was filled with Shabbos evening shadows. Und sung ihr Techines und Tfilas, and she would say her Techines psalms. How would you call that in English? Techines. What?
Her particular women
Supplication.
Women's prayers. Her
women's
prayers of praise.
No, it's supplications.
Supplications.
Yeah, that's right.
Supplications and prayers. Dabei hat sie gesucht nicht nur Loschen Kodesh-dicke Tfilas. And doing that, she didn't just say prayers that were in Hebrew, in Loshen Kodesh, nor Yiddische, also Yiddish ones. Und reingelegt das Sachherz in Gott von Avrum. And she put all her heart, and this is a typical Tchina, God from Abraham. Ich gedenk nur bis heint ihr oventicken Nieden. I remember until now the evening melody. Gott von Avrum und Yitzchak und Yankiv. Hiet up dein Volk Yisroel von jeder Schlecht. God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, take care of your people, Israel, and protect them from any bad thing. Nachdem Gott von Avrum pflegt sie übergehen zu a Lied in Gramen wegen Eliyahu Hanovi. After saying God of Abraham, she used to go to a song in that rhymed about Eliyahu Hanavi, the Elijah the prophet. Was darf unsungen die Besure von Mashiach's kommen, whose job who was the one who would give the news of the Messiah's coming. Teil Shuras gedenk ich noch. I still remember some of the lines. Auf a Berg, weit geht's weiter, steht zwischen Himmel und Erd a Leiter. On a mountain, far and even farther, stands between the heavens and the earth a person.
A ladder.
A ladder.
A ladder. That's for a
lighter is a leader?
Yeah.
A ladder. You climb up a ladder.
Okay. Eliyahu, der Tishbi steht auf der Leiter. Eliyahu from Tishbi tribe. He is on the candlestick, yes?
No.
No, he's
Lighter.
standing on the ladder. Ladder that you climb on.
A ladder.
A ladder, yeah.
Oh, okay. Der Leiter, okay. Eliyahu, der Tishbi steht auf der Leiter. So Eliyahu of the Tishbites stands on the ladder und sucht Volk Yisroel a Besura mit der Trameter. And he says to the people of Israel some news with a a trommeter. What is a trommeter?
Well, it's a trumpet, but it's the idea of blowing a shofar. But he, in order to rhyme, used the word for trumpet. Notice this whole thing is in an accent where it has to rhyme with weiter. Usually we'd say later and trommeter, but in her accent, it's rhyming with weiter. So leiter and trommeter.
A trommeter. Eliyahu Hagiladi, Eliyahu the Giladi, trommeter noch. Again, the trumpet. Mashiach ben David zal komen die Woche. The Messiah, the son of David, should come this week. When die Baba fleckt fertig wären damit, fleckt sie übergehen zu Azalid. When the grandma was ready,
Completed.
flaked or fertig, when she was finished with that or tired of that, she would go over to this such a song as this. Hannah hat gehat 7 Töchter in ihres Leib. Hannah had 7 daughters in her body. Hat sie nicht gehat zu geben kein Pitzele Brot. She didn't have enough to give them even a little bit of bread. Hit uns up, Gott Noit, take care of us, God of needy people. Of
neediness. Watch us.
Und von Friedzeitgen. Und von einer friedzeitigen Tür. Oh, hielt uns up, Gott von Neut. Und von a friedzeitigen Teut. Take care of us, God of need, and keep us from an early death.
I would say, protect us from need and from an early death.
Oh, protect us von Neut und von friedseitige Teut, and protect us from need and from an early death.
Yeah, premature death.
Kommen soll auf uns a mazeldike Woche. We should have a lucky week. Bracha und Hatzlocha noch und noch. Blessing and success, one after the other. Kommen soll die Geula noch die Woche. Redemption should come after the week. Giech, Eliyahu, die Matzliach.
Sei Matzliach.
Eliyahu saved them.
No.
No.
Be successful.
Be successful. Zai.
Oh, okay, Matzliach. Yes, Eliyahu. Zay Matzliach. May they see.
It's imperative of to be successful.
Eliyahu, Zay Matzliach. Eliyahu, be successful.
Yeah, like you say, sei gesund.
Oh, Zay Matzliach.
Sei Matzliach.
Eliyahu, you should be successful.
Right.
Vetters pflegen aufschmeicheln über der Bobbes every Zeit kramen. My uncles would smile at my grandma's translation of the rhymes. Aber die Bobbe is nicht nispal geworden. But grandma wasn't surprised. Gesucht sie jeden Shabbos zu Nacht. And she said them every Shabbos night. For Havdalah, before the Havdalah prayer. Meine 2 Schwesterkinder, die Esoimim, Simela, und Teubele, and my 2 cousins, the 2 orphan cousins, Simela and Teubele, pflegen still unterbrummen a maidliche Liedl, and they would sing along or hum along with a girlish tune, wegen a Liebe zwischen a Melech und a Bas Malka, and a love between a king and a princess. Der Vogel is geflogen a Tag mit a Nacht. The bird flew a day and a night. a Tag mit a Nacht, a day over a day and a night. Gekommen zu der Malke, getroffen die Lodens Vermacht. He came to the queen and he found the shutters closed. Oi, steh schon auf, gildene Zure. Oh, wake up, golden Zure. What would
Tzura is something like creature, being.
Appearance, a face, appearance, creature works.
oh, ich hab dich gebracht von Melech Abasura. I brought you from the king a message, some news. It's very interesting that women would have been singing songs and in Yiddish or Hebrew, because in some religious households, women were not allowed to, you couldn't hear their voices at all.
You could if there's only family members present.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Time for somebody else.
Okay, then I guess it's my turn. Chotch and Zedens Heis haben weiter nicht getört singen, that's what you were talking about, ist aber das Doseka Liebelied toleriert geworden. Even though in grandfather's house, women were not supposed to sing. Still, this particular love song was tolerated. Weil das ist nicht gewesen stam a Liebelied nor a Moschel auf Gott mit sein Volk Yisrael, because it's not a simple love song. It was a parable about God and God's people, Israel.
Right.
The
Isn't
Melech-
this isn't this what they say about Shir HaShirim also?
Yes,
Same. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Ja.
Mit dem Melech hat man gemeint Gott. Und mit der Basmalke, die Knesset Yisrael. When they talked about the king, they were talking about God. And the queen, or the princess rather, that is the community of Israel. Mit dem Vogel hat man gemeint dem Shaliach von Gott zu Yisrael. When they talk about the bird, that was the messenger from God to Israel, wegen der guter Psura von der Auslesung, about the good news of the redemption. Zu die Mädlich, die Islaimes, haben Tage gemeint die fromme Austeitschung, oder die Poschete Liebe zwischen der Melech und der Basmalke, weiß ich nicht. Whether these orphan girls actually intended this pious interpretation, or rather the simple love between a king and a princess, I don't know.
He knows.
Allenfalls, haben sie in dem Liebelied a Sach Herz und Gefühl da reingelegt. Anyhow, in this particular love song, they placed an enormous amount of heart and feeling. In Zedens Beistenstube hat man gesungen andere Gesangen. In grandfather's courtroom, they would sing other songs. In der größer Beistenstube, was es gewinn eingehielt in schwere Gedichte Schottens, sind gesessen ausgesetzt beim Tisch und gestanden etliche Millionen Eden. In the big Bastion room, which was covered with heavy, thick shadows, there were sitting seated at the table and standing several tens of people. The armste von Stadt, the most poor ones in the city. Die Sippenmachers, these were perhaps the people who made sieves. Und fromm gesungen Zmiris, the Shalashudas. And piously they would sing Zmiris for the third meal of the Shabbos. Bilgorei hat sich geschäftigt mit Ausarbeiten Sippen. Bilgorei involved itself with working with building sieves, welche seien gegangen über ganz Russland und a viele geschickt gewinnt kein Ausland, which were sent across all of Russia and even sent to other countries. Die Peure marum pflegen machen Sippen nur im Winter, wenn sie haben nicht gehabt kein Arbeit in die Felder. The peasants about used to make the sieves only wintertime when there wasn't any work in the fields. Die Bilgereierjiden haben gearbeitet bei Sippen a ganz Jahr. The Jews in Bilgerei, they worked at sieve making all year round. Etliche 100 jüdische Mishpoches haben sich beschäftigt mit Ot der Malacha. Several hundred Jewish families involved themselves with this craft. Die Weiber haben geklippen die pferdische Haar, von welchem man hat sie die Sippen gewebt. The women would collect the horsehair, from which they would weave the sieves. Gereinigt und gewaschen sie. They would clean and wash the hair. Ot die weiberische Arbeit hat sich gerufen Mietten. This particular woman's work was called Mietten. Und die Arbeiterinnen hat man gerufen Mieterkes. And they called the working women then, who were doing this Miet job, these were the Mieterkes. Die Manspielen seien gesessen in Webstuhl. The men would sit at the weaving looms, eingeflochten zwischen Stangen und Strick, wie a Flieg in Spinnwebs. They were woven in among poles and threads, as just like a fly in a spider's web. Und gewebt, die Sippen, and they would be weaving the sieves. Das ist gewähne schädliche Arbeit, bei welchem man pflegt gewöhnlich gegen Schwindsucht noch ein paar Jahr. This was a dangerous work, a damaging work, at which people would acquire tuberculosis after a few tens of years, oder a viel früher, or even maybe earlier. Mehrste Zippers haben gearbeitet von Fartag bis spät in der Nacht. Most of these sieve makers would be working from before day break until late at night. Sie seien geworden, eus geheukert und halb blind und gehust und verloren jeden Tropfen Blut in Ponnen. They would be bent over and half blind and would cough, and they had lost every drop of blood in their face. Also haben euch gesehen, die Mieterkes, and that's also how the women, the Mieterkes, would look. Aber von der schweren Arbeit haben die Menschen viele nicht gekannt, euch arbeiten kein Brot und Kartoffel zu essen zu der Saat. But even from this hard work, the people couldn't work out enough money for bread and potatoes to eat to satiation, to be full. Kein Stückel Malbusch zu verdecken das Leib, or a piece of cloth to cover their body. Die etliche Gewirim, was haben euch gegeben die Arbeit, haben gezahlt Groschens, für schwere Horvania. The rich folks, the few rich folks who would give out this work, they paid just pennies for this difficult effort. Es ist der Gangen dazu, als jeden, was haben gearbeitet die ganze Woche, zusammen mit sehr Häusern sind, haben nicht gehabt, mit was Shabbos zu machen. It even reached the point that Jews who were working the whole week, along with their households, they didn't have enough on Shabbos, enough to prepare for Shabbos. Und a viele Zippers und Zipperkes pflegen Freitag zu nachts herumgehen über balabatische Häuser, betten Challah oder Breit. And even the people making the sieves and their wives, Friday afternoon, they would be going around to the balabatish houses to beg for challah or bread. Ich fleg ze zen, wenn sie pflegen reinkommen, verschämte. I used to see them coming in, embarrassed. Die Baba pflegt sie weggeben, ganze Chales, halbe Bräuten. Grandmother used to give them entire Chales and half loaves of bread. Sie pflegen benchen und wünschen. They would bless her and give her good wishes. Die Baba pflegte noch Schoklen mit die Chassidim, zwischen welche es haben sich gefunden sehr Blutsäugerige dazu. So grandmother used to then Shaklan mit die Chassidim. It's not just Shaklan usually means to sway, but here I think it means she used to upbraid, she used to scold the Chassidim, among whom would be found the blood-sucking folk. Die Jüngere und Starkere, was haben noch gehabt, Keuches, haben gekannt allein besorgen sich mit Bräut. Now, the younger, the stronger people making the sieves, who still had the strength, they were able to equip themselves enough for bread. Aber viele sie haben gelebt in der größten Neut und de Chakes. But even they, Dachkes, okay, Dachkes.
Hebrew.
Yeah, but even they were living in the greatest need and poverty. Sehr gesslich seien gewesen Nesten von Dallas. Their alleyways were nests of poverty, Schmutz und Krankheiten, of filth and of disease. Sehr Balabatim, was haben sie ausgegeben, die Arbeit, seien geworden reicher mit jedem Tag. But their bosses who were giving them this work, they were becoming richer every day. End of my turn.
Okay. Und die Orme, zerbrochene Jiden pflegen das Kommen in Sedens Haus jeden Schabbos vor Nacht, wo sie haben gegessen Shalashurdes, Falle mit Hering und gesungen Zmires. So these poor, broken down Jews used to come into Grandpa's house every Saturday afternoon, where they used to eat the third meal of the Shabbos, a fale with herring, and they would sing the traditional Shabbos songs. In seiner Neut und der Schlagenkeit haben sie sich getuliert zum Raufsehern, was hat sich angenommen für sie, mechabet gewinnt sie, in the neediness and in the misery, they were drawn to the rabbi. They were holding on. They were holding on to the rabbi who was giving them attention, was taking them on himself to take care of them, who was treating them. Der Seder hat gerät mit sie, getreist sie, geschaffen Zedoke für sie. The grandpa was talking with them, cheering them up. He was collecting charity for them. Hat euch jeden von sie dem Same kleinsten gerufen mit darauf. He also called each one of them, even the smallest one, probably the most insignificant one. He called everybody a Rav.
No, Reb, I think Reb, Mr.
Thank you. Absolutely, yes. don't you sometimes call each other Rov and not, you know,
Reb,
just Reb? Okay.
Reb.
Und begegnet mit der Baruch Habo, wenn ist herangekommen in sein Westdienst. And he used to call them Reb and welcome them with welcome them with a welcoming greeting when he went into his courtroom.
When
Und
they came into his courtroom,
wenn ist herangekommen in sein, when he.
oh, okay, so I'm sure.
It's okay, yeah. Yeah. Und sie sind gewinn stolz mit sehr Rov, stolz damit, was darf nicht mit den Chassidim, zwischen welcher haben sich gefunden sehr blutsaugendicke Balabatim, nur zwischen die Poste Leid in Schul. They were proud with their rabbi. They were proud with the fact that he was praying not with the Chassidim, among whom there were their blood-sucking bosses. But instead he was praying with the simple people in the synagogue. Stolz damit, was ruft sie jeden mit der Rov. They were also proud, a reb, yeah, proud also that he was calling each one of them reb. Begegnen sie mit der Baruch Habo, he was always meeting them with the greeting of welcoming them. Sie pflegen euch kommen, euch weinen sich verem, rufen zu den Teures, ihre Balabatim, mehr von alle andere, dem Gewirr von Stott, Rabbi Joshua, Maimon, was kemat alle haben gearbeitet für ihn. They also used to come to pour their hearts to him and to bring to the court, to his court, his bosses, their bosses, who and more than any other boss was the rich man of the town, Rabbi Joshua Maimon, for whom almost everyone was working. Die meiste den Teure, als solche Pflegen vorkommen, Shabbos zur Nacht. Like my mother would say, Shabbos zur Nacht, vorkommen Shabbos zur Nacht. Der Seide pflegt hereinrufen Shmuel Shames und schicken noch die Zdodim. Most of the court cases took place Saturday night. Grandpa was calling Shmuel, the helper, and send him to bring the parties to the case. Geh noch Rab Yeshuan, pflegt der Seide sagen, und sag, als ich rufe ihm zu Adin Teure, go for Yeshua, the grandpa used to say, and say that I am calling him to a court case. Shmuel Shames hat schon gewusst, welchen Rabbi Yeshua meant. Shmuel, the helper, already knew which Rabbi Yeshua my grandfather meant. Ärger ist gewesen, wenn der Seide vielleicht dem Schicken noch einen zweiten Tzad, dem Zipper, die Meise, that worse, it was worse when grandfather was sending him for the other party. That's the employee, the worker. Die Meise ist gewesen, was keiner hat nicht gewusst, die Familien nehmen von od die Oreme Balmeloches. The problem was that nobody knew the last name of the poor of those poor working people. Sie haben gehabt zunehmen, was letztem in Stadt haben sie gegeben. They had nicknames that jokers, people who were joking, jokers in the city or in the town, in the shtetl, jokers gave them those nicknames. Der Seide hat nicht gewollt anrufen a Jiden mit a Zunamen und pflegt bloß so, Grandpa didn't want to call a Jew with a nickname. So he only said, Geh Shmuel und ruf Reberl Zipper. Okay, Janke.
Okay. So go, Shmuel, call Reb Beryl the sieve maker. Es seien da avada a million Beryl zippers in Stott, Rov, hat der Shamus gesagt. So there must be 12, 10 Beryl zippers in the town, the Shamus said. Wohnt in Zippergessel. He lives in the Sieve Alley. Zij wonen alle in Zippergessel, Rov. So the answer is they all live in the Sieve Alley, Rabbi. Es is never a darer Yid, a zerbrochener. So he's unfortunately a thin man, a broken man. Ze zijn alle daro en zerbrochener, Rov. So they're all thin and broken people, Rabbi. Der was arbeit for Rebbe Yoshua, the one who works for Rebbe Yoshua. Sehendig, als es wird nicht kommen zu kein Tag, hat der Shamus probiert treffen. So seeing that he couldn't make any sense of the situation, the Shamus, the assistant, tried to guess who it was. Beryl Loksch, Beryl Heuker, Beryl Zop, Beryl Dinkeva, Beryl Parch. So Beryl the tall one, Beryl the hunchback, Beryl with the braid, Beryl the Dinakeva, the feminine,
The female.
Beryl the one who has ringworms. Nu, gay schon gay, hat der Seide gesagt mit Asifts von was Shmuel Shamus hat verstanden, als man darf gehen rufen Beryl Parch. So go already, the rabbi said with a sigh, and from which Beryl, the assistant, understood that he needs to go and call Beryl of the ringworm. Die Dien Teires seinen gewinn tumultiker. So these cases were very noisy. Die Orme Zippers pflegen teinen, schreien, rufen zu Joischer Gerechtigkeit Yardes. The poor sieve makers would complain, they would shout, they would call for fairness, for justice, for the exercising of Jewish values. Wo is Yardes, haben sie gefragt. So where is this, where are the Jewish values, they asked. Wir haben schon nicht kein Koyach zu arbeiten mit Weib und Kinder und nicht haben nach viele zu essen. We've got no strength anymore to work for the wife and children and not to have even to have anything to eat. Ich soll goyim,
Ich
sorry,
zoll. Ich zoll.
yeah, sorry, ich zoll goyim noch weniger. I pay the non-Jews even less, Rov, hat Rabbi Yeshua geteinet gelassen. Rabbi Yeshua stated calmly, der Seder hat geredet wegen Yiddishkeit. The Seder spoke about Yiddishkeit, Jewish values. Rabbi Yeshua, Goyim haben Felder. Goyim dürfen nicht essen koscher. Zollen Melamed Geld. Nicht ruhen Shabbos. Jeden kennen sich nicht gleichen zu Goyim, lahavdil. So Rabbi Yeshua, Goyim, they've got fields. Goyim don't have to eat kosher. They don't need to pay money for the melamed, for teaching their children. And they don't have to rest on Shabbos. You can't compare Yidden to Goyim. Lahavdil, may there be a separation between the two. Es ist Mischer, Rov. Und in Mischer rechnet man sich aus, es so kosten was weniger, hat Rabbi Yeshua geteinet, ruhig und gelassen. Auf alle balmelochische Keules und Geweinen. So it's a matter of business, Rabbi. And in business, you can't take into account so
You do take into account that it should.
You do take into account that it should you should minimize your expenses, that it should be cheaper. Rabbi Yeshua stated calmly and quietly to all these tradesmen's shouting and cries. Leuten euch sehen, hat der Reb Yeshua kein Simen von kein Nogid nicht gehabt auf sich. According to his appearance, Reb Yeshua had no sign of a wealthy man about him. Sein Kapotte hat geglanzt von Altkeit. His Kapotte shone with age. It was well worn. Sein Hittel hat gehat a Fleck auf dem Dashik. His hat had a stain on the visor. Euch pflegen seine Socken sein verzirret. Und die Piates und sein verzirret und die Piates und ausgescheint mit seiner Lattes von zuläuser chassidischer Schicht. And his socks were darned, and the heels of his feet were sticking out from because under the patches of their loose Hasidic shoes. Aber wie frum und orm gekleidt ist gewesen, als ist gewesen ungestoppt mit gold. But as frum, as religious and poorly dressed as he was, so he was ungestoppt. He was packed full of gold. Hat man in Stott gesagt. This is what they said in the town about him. Seine glatte, frumme Rede, logische und voll mit Teire und Frumkeit, haben herausgebracht von die Kelim die zerreizte, unglückliche Zippers. So his smooth religious talk, his logical and talk full of Torah and frumkeit and religiousness, this brought out, it made the, it exasperated and the unhappy sieve makers was seinen Gewinn schwer auf der Zunge. And it was difficult for them to accept what this Gewir, this Nogid was saying.
No, I think it means they didn't have this facility of speech.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay.
I
You
think,
know.
I think that our time is up, isn't it?
Yes.